that, of course, is a story for another day, and I'll see you, and we'll talk about that down the road. Welcome, wrestling fans. You got the show, Bill Schuyler, here at One Wrestling's WWE NXT review. Wednesday, May 20th, 2015. We're here for NXT's Takeover Unstoppable. But first, let's give a shout out to the man, the icon, Bill Apter at Apter One Wrestling. You could follow him also on YouTube at the Apter Chat. Now, time to kick off those shoes. Pour yourself a cold one and get ready to take a look into the future, because the future is now and it's here tonight at NXT Takeover Unstoppable. We had one hell of a show here tonight with all the bells and whistles, but not done to out or overshadow the action in the ring. That's right. This is not a sports entertainment brand of the WWE. NXT is pro wrestling. That's right. It is old school pro wrestling that would have been no different to see if you were watching this 15 years ago, 20 years ago, all except for the flash of the new, bright, electronic gizmos and whatnot that enhance and give the NXT that futuristic look that makes it stand out from any of the other, say, indie level or other promotions that would be in competition with NXT. And with that, I hope you're comfortable in that chair and you're ready to take that ride, because we're going to go into, and we got a lot going on and a lot happened since the last time we spoke. Let's get into that first. Let's talk about Raw Monday night. Yet again, another NXT member makes his way out onto the Raw show. This week, once again, for John Cena's U.S. Open Challenge. And who would walk out but the one, the only, NXT Heavyweight Champion, Kevin Owens. He got into a verbal spat, if you will, with the champ, telling him that he's not out here to accept his little challenge, okay, for this meaningless title. He has the, as he patted his NXT title, the only title that matters, that his U.S. title that meant nothing to him, basically. And then Cena went and told him, let me give you some veteran advice, and he cut him off, and he told Cena, you know what, you don't give me advice, veteran advice, because let me tell you something, I've been wrestling longer than you. So if anybody's going to give anybody advice, it'll be me talking to you. And that set Cena back, and it continued to go back and forth, and Owens stating that John Cena did not injure Sami Zayn, and he does not appreciate John Cena trying to take the credit for injuring Sami Zayn, because he injured Sami Zayn. He knows how he did it, he knows when he did it, and when they meet at Takeover, if Sami Zayn does show up, he's going to injure him again, and he will never wrestle again. Cena tells him, again, getting into him about how he treated the crowd, how he's talking about Zayn, etc., etc. They go back and forth. Regardless, it winds up that we get Kevin Owens challenging John Cena. Elimination Chamber match in 2 weeks on the network. That's right, Elimination Chamber, a network-only pay-per-view, main event, whatever you want to call it. NXT champion versus US champion. NXT versus WWE Raw. This should be out of this world, and that was enough right there. But he continued to talk to John, and then he, out of nowhere, gives John a kick in the gut, picks him up, power bombs him in the middle of the ring, leaving Cena laying out cold, stands over him, stomps his foot on top of the U.S. title, raises up that NXT belt. And there was everything you had to know about how Kevin Owens feels about John Cena and the U.S. title. Exciting times for fans of one Kevin Owens. Fantastic and exciting times for fans of NXT, and for those in the WWE who haven't watched NXT, it gave them an opportunity to take a chance and watch Takeover Unstoppable, see what's going on down there in Full Sail University. That's got everybody talking about what's causing all this, as the Nature Boy would say. But I digress. Now, we also had news breaking earlier in the week as well, as yesterday there was a news conference which I was part of with Triple H, and it was announced that Hideo Itami had indeed been injured and would be part of the show but would not be wrestling. As you fans well know, he was supposed to be part of a triple threat for the number one contender spot with Finn Balor and Prince Pretty Tyler Breeze. So obviously that is going to become a one-on-one match for the number one contendership. Sami Zayn has indeed been cleared and will wrestle in the main event against Kevin Owens for the NXT title. Got to ask the King of Kings a few questions myself, partaking mostly with the women's division, and about how they had headlined Philadelphia and the Albany and New York shows, and the crowds were apparently giving standing ovations to the women's matches. Charlotte, Sasha, all the main eventer girls down in NXT, and Triple H flat out said it, that it doesn't matter if guys or women, whoever's the best and is going to put on the best show gets the main event in NXT. And they are solidly behind the women's division down there in Full Sail University, that they are going to push them as hard and as high as they're willing to go. Rumors of a possible women's only special from NXT occurring. He denied that, saying that he had no knowledge of that being forthcoming, but not an impossibility, and that he doesn't always tell everybody what's on his mind and where it might go. We also, it had been talked about and asked about Samoa Joe. He had stated that Samoa Joe had indeed been down at NXT. He had briefly spoken with him, but there was no discussion, no answers, yay or nay, for any contract negotiations or the like. Other than that, the only other big news was that Albert Matt Bloom, Tensai, as you may know him, fans from all over, Giant Bernard from New Japan, he has now been promoted to the head coach in NXT, and Sarah Amato, aka Sarah Del Rey, has been moved up to assistant head coach, and who will take over for the women's trainer has yet to be announced. We'll find that out forthcoming. Now, that was enough for that. Let's get to the show. The show opens up out in the parking lot with a fan filming Enzo, Amore, Big Cass, and Carmella getting out of their caddy. They asked him a couple questions, then we hear some screams for help. This individual's running with his camera, and we see Hideo Itami laying on the ground in the parking lot, holding his arm and shoulder in immense pain. Different WWE talent around him, and then we see Kevin Owens walking by with his gear, and he walks past, just goes, "Oh, that's a shame." And then they tell the guy to get out of there, shut his camera off when it was over. Fantastic old school way of putting the guy out in the storyline for an injury that didn't actually occur on television or on a pay-per-view. I loved it. It reminded me of, again, just those old school type of vignettes from back in the day, whether it be WWE's, NWA, WCW's, AWA, doesn't matter. It was perfect. I loved it. Now, we opened up with our first match of the night, which was for the #1 contendership, Tyler Breeze versus Finn Balor. And this would set the tone for the show of Takeover. Unstoppable. Amazing entrances on both individuals. Tyler Breeze coming out with an entire catwalk, if you will, of women all dressed in furs, holding their iPhones or whatnot, all showcasing themselves, and Tyler will check each and every one, periscoping, if you will, as he got all the way down to the end, taking his camera and doing his usual entrance and the like. And then it was time for the Demon. Yes, the Demon, Finn Balor, was there in full makeup and regalia, and one of the most amazing entrances in pro wrestling today and in pro wrestling ever. And he gets to the ring and the action ensues. These two have not been strangers in the ring. They have fought many times before, and they would continue to work this feud of theirs throughout, exchanging back and forth. Tyler basically has been impressing me over time. I was not a big fan of his in the beginning. As I've learned more about his background and where he's come from and came up to on this level, and seeing him actually improving every week, whether it be tweaking his character, his in-ring psychology, his in-ring wrestling has never been a question. And of course Finn Balor, there's no question at all with him. This match, just it was not the greatest they've had in their repertoire of matches, but it was good but not great, but perfect opener and tone setter. Fantastic spot of the match. They're out on the floor. Finn Balor gets to the top of the NXT entranceway, 10-15 feet above, leaping off, nailing Tyler Breeze. They would make it back to the ring. Finn would hit his finisher, the coup de grace, and they would get not a 3 count, but the referee actually counted 4 times. I think he lost count himself. So we had a 4 count, and Finn Balor is the #1 contender for Kevin Owens' NXT Championship. And they shoot to the back as Kevin is watching on a television in the back and did not look happy to see Finn Balor coming out on top in this match. Our second match of the night, we have a women's match. Emma and Dana Brooke going up against Charlotte and Bayley. Fantastic tag team women's match. Dana Brooke, in my opinion, looks to have all the talent in the world, but she's not ready yet. She's very green. I have said before, and I continue to say to people who ask me about her, I think of her much like a Lex Luger back in the day when he got brought into the Horsemen and was very green and needed to have people around him to help to improve him and to make him look good. Same situation going with Dana Brooks right now. She is not, in my opinion, really ready to be up on the main television roster for NXT. But regardless, the other 3 women, outrageously talented. Emma, thankfully, has gotten her second chance, and she is doing everything. The crowd began chanting for her, calling her Evil Emma, and she was eating it up. She had the fans eating out of her hand the whole night. Her in-ring work is unbelievably just top notch. You can't say anything bad about Bayley. She's one of the greatest baby faces, natural ones that I have ever seen. That just came out, boom, fan favorite, and there's no way this girl would ever make it as a heel. And of course, Charlotte Flair. What more can be said about the Nature Boys? Baby girl Charlotte Flair outshining and not really needing to have her father mentioned, although it's going to happen for time to come. Irregardless, this match, all the women showcasing their talents, their moves. We wound up with the win being Charlotte and Bayley. Charlotte hitting the natural finisher, natural selection, and your winners were Charlotte and Bayley. Again, a very good match, continuing to warm up the crowd. This was not one of their best of all, and that was because of Brooks. I think if they had had another female off the roster with a bit more talent, this would have really been a barn burner of a women's tag team. But regardless of that, it still tops out and beats anything on the main roster's Diva division. Now we finally have the undefeated Baron Corbin versus the Man-Beast Rhyno. Baron Corbin, primarily known for having squash matches since he's arrived in NXT from the NFL. Rhyno, of course, has been destroying everyone in his path since coming into NXT. This match was a fist fest. These guys exchanging blows throughout the match. It was Baron Corbin dominating Rhyno, which shocked me. I expected Baron Corbin to come out on top in this match, but I expected Rhyno to show more of a fight against Corbin, but Corbin just dominated Rhyno in this. Rhyno not even getting one gore off on him. They battered each other brutally, but Baron Corbin would come out hitting the end of days on Rhyno, and as they said, the Rhyno was extinct, and Baron Corbin was your winner. We then had our NXT Tag Team Championship. Blake and Murphy going up against Enzo, Amore, and Big Cass with Carmella in their corner for the tag team titles of NXT. And I am a big fan of Team Bam. They say that these guys aren't flashy enough. They don't have enough charisma. I say that they are a solid workhorse team. And all they really need, to me, is a right kind. They need a manager in their corner. And I've been saying this all along. I can imagine like a Jimmy Cornette or even a James J. Dillon, that type of guy that could give them the ability, somebody to speak for them, to have that look, to have that edge in their matches. Enzo and Cass have improved so much, and the crowd was 100% behind Enzo and Big Cass, always coming out with their intro, with that whole. I can't even go into the way that Enzo, what he spits out on that microphone, but the crowd loved it, and you can't teach that. And in the ring, these guys have improved unbelievably. It's like every week they come out on a match. These guys, it's like it's been a year since the last time they wrestled on TV, and they're that much better. Enzo especially, they seem to be holding back on the big man, whether that's because he's not quite with it yet for going through the long thing, or they're treating him maybe as that big guy, and they're going to wait till they unleash him till he's absolutely perfect. Irregardless, Enzo and him work great in the ring. Enzo dominating from the beginning of this match throughout, eventually losing pace and doing the great babyface sells to the champions who are cheating throughout the match, doing what they can to beat the team, Big Cass, eventually the hot tag was made. He came in, clearing house, beating everyone down, doing giant stinger splashes into the ring so high that I literally thought he was going to go up and over at one point. The match continued back and forth. Enzo was completely, almost unconsciously standing on the ring apron, and Cass drug him over to put him up for the that slingshot finisher that they do. And as they're doing that, Alexa Bliss had come down and hit Carmella from behind, knocking her out down to the ground, putting her out. Big Cass comes out asking her what she's doing, etc. Goes down to help his girl Carmella, and Blake hits him with a super kick, knocking the big man out. And Enzo, Alexa Bliss, knocks him from the top rope down into the ring, and he is pinned for the 1, 2, 3. And the champions retain their titles with what I said they needed, that flash, Alexa Bliss in their corner. This opens up all kinds of opportunities for these guys for gender matches with Carmella and Alexa Bliss and Carmella feud. This should go on for quite a while, and it should be quite enjoyable. I'm looking forward to it without a doubt. Again, a great old school tag team. I mean, these guys did everything. The ring psychology was on top of any of the tag teams in the NXT division right now. They are really looking to be four of the best tag team members in the WWE universe right now. I could see Blake and Murphy and these guys being on that main roster sometime in the next year. But I digress. We'll talk about that a little later, of what might be going on with NXT. We then had the NXT Women's title match. That's right. Sasha Banks defending her title against Becky Lynch, who came out in a new entrance with a new look. Her hair, a fiery red, steampunk type of look going, with the goggles and her hair done up. Like I said, she looked, as Corey Graves had said, Fifth Element looking. I love these entrances that just enhance the talent, that are so talented in the ring. It doesn't take anything away from what they are able to do and show in the ring, and it happened in this match right here. Becky Lynch going up against Sasha Banks, who came out. The crowd was so pumped for Sasha Banks. I thought the roof was going to blow off of the arena. These girls took it to another level. This was the match of the night. These girls outshone everybody so far tonight. The wrestling in this was just something that I haven't seen in women's wrestling in a long time. It's proven to me that it wasn't just Charlotte, but indeed Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch are those talents, that they are that good in the ring. And this went back and forth. These girls going after each other's arms, trying to do the injury, because of course Becky Lynch, who had made Sasha tap out at the contract signing by putting her in the armbar, Sasha obviously not wanting to get involved in that and to get payback, they continued to work the arms. This match would wind up going to Sasha Banks, although I feel that Becky Lynch's foot was under the rope. Nothing has been mentioned for that, so I guess they're not going to go with that storyline. I thought that would go for giving her a definite rematch. But your winner and continued NXT Women's Champ, Sasha Banks, winning with the bang statement. Now, it came down to the main event. Sami Zayn came out to unreal crowd explosion of cheers and chants as always. Sami Zayn, one of the most beloved wrestlers in the business today. he would go up against the NXT champion for the title, Kevin Owens. These men have been opponents. They have been tag team champions throughout the world. They have been opponents throughout the world. They have had every kind of match known to man, basically, against each other. And the war between them continues here in NXT. Sami Zayn was cleared to wrestle in this match. Doesn't mean that he really was 100%, in my opinion, and in the opinion of others, including the broadcasters here tonight. Sami Zayn, though, took it to Kevin Owens, beating the tar out of him throughout the ring, outside of the ring, dominating in the early parts of this match. Owens was just truly being battered and seemed perplexed and unable to mount a comeback against Sami Zayn for quite a while. Finally, he would get that momentum and take it back against Zayn, and Sami would again be injured outside of the ring after, like I said, one hell of a match, okay, between these guys, just taking it to the limit as they always do. The refs come out, medical comes out, they're trying to take care of Zayn, and Owens continues to keep running in and attacking and kicking on Zayn. This is going back and forth for quite a while. They were in the ring prior to this, trying to take care of him, and Regal came in and told, he just flipped out in Zayn and Owens' face, which was awesome. And he comes behind and he grabs him by his nose and pulls his head back, and he's trying to pull Owens away. And then, of course, Kevin Owens turned around and took Regal out, and he was done. And at that point, this new music hits, and out walks, drumroll please, Samoa Joe. And this joint freaking exploded. This was monumental. Samoa Joe in the WWE universe here in NXT. He came down to that ring, and him and Owens were face to face, nose to nose. Owens backing up, and Joe following in suit, face to face, ready to take it down right then and there. Owens out of the ring, walks away up the ramp. Joe continuing to talk smack from the ring. Owens leaves, and then he comes back. He's looking at his title, and he's looking at Joe. He comes back, and he goes to go back in the ring, and then he stops, and he comes back out, and he said, "Not tonight, not tonight," and he leaves. One heck of an ending to a fantastic takeover. This is a promotion, and believe this again, this is no longer a promotional thing down here in Florida. This aspect, NXT, that you see every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, is now an official third brand in the WWE, along with SmackDown and Raw. These women and men on this roster are not absolutely guaranteed to be going up to WWE's main rosters, if you will, at any time. They will stay down here for as long as required, and will go up to the main roster if it is required. If not, they are going to start being on the road 3 days a week, doing it like everybody else, and then doing their recordings and live shows in between, because the success they've had so far in Philadelphia, Albany, Columbus, Ohio, at San Jose, has been, every event has been sold out. The fans and the merchandise have been selling out unbelievably. This is something that has definitely exploded and making a mark in professional wrestling. Right now, it is the most talked about promotion across the wrestling world. And those haters and those who dislike anything that's not their brand, and this includes guys who are fans of the main roster who don't want to be troubled and looking at these, guys down in training, they're NXT, they're nobodies. You got to remember your main event champion right now, Seth Rollins, came from NXT. The entire Shield, the Wyatts, all this talent. Emma, my mind goes to think the talent down at NXT right now is some of the best professional wrestlers in the business today. The WWE Network airs their show every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It is my favorite promotion, and I get a lot of heat from that from friends of mine, but it is my favorite promotion today in professional wrestling. I never miss it. I watch it without fail, obviously, because I bring it to you each and every week. But even if I didn't, I'd be glued to my television, watching it and rewatching it, and having everything I can do to push and promote this product, because it is old school wrestling, my friends. Old school wrestling with a futuristic, modern look. You can't go wrong with that if you're an old school pro wrestling fan. You want sports entertainment? Go to the main roster and watch sports entertainment. But even the main roster, as another question I had with Triple H, with the dominance of NXT and the success they're having with the people and with the merchandise and the ratings, will this possibly affect Raw and SmackDown's performances? Will we see a change to this pro wrestling old school style up on the main roster? And his answer simply was, if the people want it, the people will get it. And coming from Triple H, Paul Levesque, he's an old school fan of wrestling. He is the guy that ran with this ball down for NXT, that he had no real support. Nobody really thought this was going to take off. And it has blown up, and it has definitely been touchdown after touchdown, win after win for Paul Levesque and for his wife Stephanie, who both are heavily part of the NXT program. And even Vincent Kennedy McMahon now, since WrestleMania, and witnessing and being backstage at the San Jose show, had to tell them that he was impressed. And what more can you have if the chairman of the board says you're doing the right job and he's happy with what he's seeing with the product? Again, I am the show, Bill Schuyler. I bring you One Wrestling's WWE NXT review every week. Follow my friends at the Can-Am Wrestling Show, Andre_Corbeil, who also handles the correspondent duties for Impact TNA Wrestling, and Big Ray of Big Ray's Show, who handles pay-per-view previews and reviews and whatever else Ray wants to do, because he's Big Ray. Nobody's messing with Big Ray. Big Ray does what Big Ray's got to do. And my partner at the Old School Hustle and Show, Goes Old School, Billy Ray Valentine at the Billy Ray Hustle on Twitter. He also does the Raw reviews each and every week. Don't miss them. And check out his unaffiliated podcast, the PW Hustle. That is a adults only, again, non-affiliated program, but highly recommended by the show. And with that, I will see each and every one of you next week. We will have whatever breaking news comes across the road. If it does between now and next Wednesday, I will be sure to put it up. And other than that, I got nothing more to say, but this show was outstanding. Takeover events are always top notch. NXT never disappoints me. And if you're an NXT fan and you got people and friends you know that haven't checked out the product, bring them over if they don't have the network. Let them see it. Show them what's going on. Show them what everybody's talking about. Show them what's causing all this. And other than that, I'll see you down the road.